Hello there, Toastie Potato here. Welcome back to my series on how to build trees in Minecraft. Today we're going to be looking at the cherry blossom tree, or sakura. This is a beautiful tree, but it's been done a lot in Minecraft. So I don't really want to be laboring it too much, but as often with trees in Minecraft, my repeated issue comes up in that the scale is just completely off. Like, these trees grow a maximum of 10 to 15 meters, but 12 is pushing it. Even then, generally it's not that high. They specifically designed them to be small by swapping out the rootstock, cutting the top and bottom of a tree, and sticking the top that looks pretty onto a healthier base, which keeps them in a dwarf size. So generally when you see them about gardens, they're much smaller. This tree over here, which is based on the tree, the Miharu Takizakura, which is in Fukushima, it's about 1,000 years old, and it grows 14 meters tall, and it's about 22 meters and 18 meters wide. This is about as big as it gets. Notice what's happened here is it's sprawling out. That's more their natural shape. Their branches twisted out and get all crazy, and I think that's what we're focusing on today. When they get this big, they often need support. The real tree has some support sticks which are holding the sprawling branches up. Join me in a creative server and I'll show you how to build them, both from the smaller, more decorative ones that you see in the garden to some more interesting and huge ones like I've got over here. Let's go. What's important is that you have a dark base for these trees so you can see the silhouette through the cherry blossoms. We're generally going to be using nether bricks, but also cherry wood. What I love about nether bricks is that you can have the walls and the fences, which means you can get some great delicate shapes with these smaller trees. You see I'm starting off here with some walls and then just going up with the fences to make for the silhouette. Try your best to not have straight branches, have them twist and rotate in multiple directions. That way you get some really cool wiry forms. And then at the base, I'm using some green glass panes. This will pull the walls and make the trunk a bit thicker at the base. Now it comes to the blossoms. I don't want you to get too stressed about this. Start off with just making an outer shell of blossom all around the tree. Pick up those key points like the top and the outer extremities and start building up the silhouette. Ideally, you want this tree to have clouds of blossom. Achieving that in the first run is just not possible, so don't worry about it and don't get too stressed out. Just focus on the silhouette. Once you've got your top layers, start pulling the blossoms down from the top so you have that kind of dangling waterfall effect. You will be having this giant clump of pink, and that is fine. Don't worry about it. We'll deal with it later on. With larger trees, now we get to use some cherry wood, because they're meter by meter blocks. We're going to be using similar techniques to the olive tree, where we use walls and stairs to interconnect and make some interesting twisted forms at the bottom. Here you can see I've done a defined area of rootstock. The bottom is really thick, whereas the branches up top get a lot thinner. That is where the stronger root base would have been, and then having the scion or the blossom growth on the top, creating these much more crazy branches that twist out and express themselves in different directions. Using the walls, you can get a medium thickness, and then if you want to go for some more crazy branches sticking out, use the glass technique where you have the glass panes to pull the walls together. Close up, it looks a bit odd, but from a distance it works, especially when you get the cherry blossoms over the top. For the finer branches, I'm using dark oak gates and fences. I'm using that technique I like to use a lot, especially with these crazier trees, where I go up one with a fence and I go to the side, up again, different side, up again. And that way you get a kind of a spiraling technique. And then using gates for the horizontal portions, which kind of stretch out and expand the canopy out. I'm going to show you another form here quickly. I'm just building a primary branch with using the cherry block and the nether brick walls and stairs to have an interesting structure coming out, and then throwing on some nether brick fences at the top. And then I'm throwing some secondary branches coming out. This one is kind of more a wild cherry tree because you can't clearly see the rootstock, and instead you're having a primary branch or a primary tree, and then some crazy branches are coming out and expanding. What I think is important with the tree trunks is that you tell stories with them. They're not just things to hold the blossoms or the leaves. They give a sense of something, and we as people can figure this out. We can tell when a tree feels odd or strange. Think about what it's going to grow around. Is it in a garden? In which case then you're more likely to have a manicured and perfect tree. Or is it something that's grown in the wild? In which case it's going to be reacting to its local context. Is it going to be growing off a cliff? Is it going to be growing up towards something or dodging a previous tree? There's going to be a history there. Those silhouettes are what's going to really show and bring life to these trees. With the blossoms, same as before. Pick key points, the tops, the sides, and start building that silhouette. Bring the waterfall of blossom all the way down. In the end, we're going to be getting this kind of clouds of blossoms, but you're not going to get that straight away. So focus on the silhouette, get that nice string form hanging down, and then we're going to focus on thinning it out so it gets more of that fluffy texture that cherry blossom trees often have. So now we're going to start thinning it out. And what's important about this is have a strategy. We want it to be light and fluffy like you typically think cherry trees are, but it just won't make any sense if you just kind of go at it, because these are 1 meter by 1 meter blocks. It doesn't work to have that fluffy sensation that sakura trees typically have. So rather have a camera or have someone looking in a certain direction to see what you're trying to achieve. And I think what works quite nice is if you try pull it back so you can see the dark silhouette of the branches underneath. That prevents it becoming just like a wall of pink, which you'll see in the outro. The intro was from one side where you got these lovely silhouettes, as you can see here. And the other side, I didn't actually do this trick. So when we go to the outro, you can see it. It's just going to be like a wall of pink. And that's why we haven't done the thinning out. This is definitely one of the most important steps. With a gigantic one, I'm not going to show you the whole tree because it's mental, but rather I'm going to show you the techniques of what I did for just some of the key branches and how I made it. So the key thing here is looking at reference photos. Same with the other trees. Have a look at the reference photos. These trees have some really cool bumps and knots. They don't grow in straight lines, and it's difficult to kind of make that up. So just having an example tree is really helpful. This tree is massive. I think it's got a 9 meter circumference, and so to achieve that, I've just used a 3 meter block wide base. Again, I'm using stairs and walls to try and make for an interesting knotted appearance. This tree is 1,000 years old, remember. It's going to go through a lot of history, and that's the key thing which I want to show you. Don't mind that sticking out branch there, we'll get to it later. We're going to start similar to the smaller tree we did earlier on. I'm going to start pulling out one of the primary branches. I'm just using stairs on stairs and more stairs, twisting its shape, trying not to have it go straight. And you can almost see like this tentacle of a cherry branch coming out. Similarly here, and I'm ending it with some walls. Again, twisting it all the time. That's super important. So skipping ahead, we've done that a few times and you've got a base of a tree, but it's important to pull the branches out horizontally. Remember, this tree is about 22 meters wide. This thing has sprawled out sideways. Similar to the smaller trees, we're going to be using dark oak fences and gates to make the twisting branches. Getting that silhouette is super important. When you look at photos of this tree, it's twisting all over the place. It's actually going around some of the branches, and you can see that what I've done with the primary ones. Getting that silhouette is super important here. Once you've done that, we can just throw the cherry blossom on. I'm not going to go into the details of it. Similar technique as what we've done before. Throw the blossom on and make sure you can see the silhouette of the branches behind it. There we are. Some smaller trees you're more likely to see in day to day, but if you want to make a giant one, this is more likely what it's going to be. They still are super cool. Embrace what they look like in real life because wow, these things are awesome. So you can make some amazing statement pieces like the Miharu Taki Sakura, but what I much prefer about the cherry blossom is just how you make these fields of pink. Okay, on this side, I haven't thinned it out like I did in the intro. You can see what a difference it makes, but just look at this place. It's still beautiful with the falling petals. It just looks so wonderful. I don't tend to use wool blocks or glass like some people do in the tutorials. It's an option, but I don't think it's necessary. What I think is most important, get the size right first of all, then do the twisted branches behind to get an amazing silhouette, throw on the canopy, and then edit it, trimming back the blossoms you don't need so you can see that silhouette. So I hope that'll help you build some beautiful cherry blossom trees in your own world. I look forward to bringing you some more tutorials. I'm sorry I have been very slow, you may have noticed that. I've had some things going on in real life which are largely resolved now, so I am able to actually record and able to get some time aside to doing it. I really do love the suggestions that you put forward. I have a little pool of them and I might put up a vote. But until then, I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Bye-bye.